Alvin Ailey doing like Revelations or these numbers, speaking about black experiences that were definitely not shown in popular dance or on TV or in the films. Time he did it, that was no difference than going to the moon. Him going to Russia and performing Revelations is the same exact thing as Neil Armstrong and those guys going to the moon. Same amount of danger, same amount of courage, and new frontier. So that's the inspiration I've got from him, is the rigor of continuing to push forward narratives that maybe people push back against or might not know or might go over people's heads, and you might not get the validation you get if you just did the thing that people expected. That's what I've gained more than anything from what him and his company have done in the world. My name is Tremaine Emory, and we're at the African Diaspora Goods Store, owned by me. I'm the creative director of Denim Tears and owner of Denim Tears. I became aware of Alvin Ailey in the 90s when I moved to Jamaica, Queens. My next door neighbor, who would become one of my best friends, his aunt and cousin both danced for Alvin Ailey, Seth and Iris, and that's how I learned of it. Growing up in New York and with the type of parents I had, I was privileged enough to sometimes be taken to performances and things. And then my own curiosity led me to, going to Summer Stage in Central Park and the Joyce Dance Theater, things of that nature. Alvin Ailey was always part of that. Me and my wife's first proper date was seeing Alvin Ailey dance at the band shell at Coney Island. Yeah, it's just something that's been around my life and inspiration since I was a kid. He's an amazing artist, but also my favorite kind of artist that outwardly you see that it's a community. That's what makes the art that they make, whether it's Alvin Ailey or Warhol. So he stands out to me as a leader, amazing artist, also like a black and queer icon to achieve what he achieved in those times. His first job was picking cotton. It's the first thing ever, with his mother, like many black people from the South. Just like my dad's first job, my uncle, my dad's brother, my grandmother, most black people from the South, first thing they ever did was pick cotton. And this is talking post-slavery, but sharecroppers. That was a job that was available that also young children would do because of their size, and they could pick faster. I learned that in this autobiography, which is an amazing book about not just about dance, about the human condition. So that's the thing I think about too about Alvin, is he accomplishes the other thing that I find amazing about artists, is that when they're able to convey the human condition through their filter. So he conveys the human condition that anyone can relate to, but it's through the filter of a black man, a queer black man from the South that moved to New York, and he filters his American experience and then his experience in the world and experience of his family, his friends, all the things that have influenced him. He filters it through his dance numbers that he's created, and through his muses, Judith Jamison, and so on and so forth. So that's what I think of when I think of Alvin Ailey. I think of New York too. Besides artists, also it's art and they're athletes as well.
Lord wants to hide me. Lord wants to hide me. Lord wants to hide me all of that day.
Collaborated with Alvin Ailey and Champion. I felt it was very important. I felt that, one, it was a great subject. Making clothing is like, you're no different than Mario Van Peebles or George Lucas. You find a subject to tell a story in 3 parts. Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. The 5 W's. And the more depth of the subject, the more those things will get fleshed out. So, a subject like Alvin Ailey, I had to deal with Champion Europe. And I always look for the thing that's left of center. So, okay, The thing that would be most normal to do would be collaborate with a sports team, like Walter Payton and Denim Tears. Walter Payton's incredible. He's one of my favorite athletes of all time. But how about shine light on someone who maybe people who follow me, they're interested in what I do, introduce something to them that maybe that hasn't been introduced to them. To me, Michael Jordan and Alvin Ailey, same level of excellence and physical and mental prowess. So that was the whole point of it. Also, my brand tells Black stories, all kinds of Black stories. And it uses its position and my position in popular culture to permeate these stories to people who normally don't hear it. Whether it's about the history of cotton and what built this country, or Alvin Ailey and one of the greatest dance troupes in the history of dance. Whatever it may be, I want to get that story out. Alvin is one of the many artists that I've been fortunate to come across that have inspired me, that have inspired my work. When you're an artist, you start off as a blank canvas. And then if you're lucky, all the books you read and the movies you watch and people you meet and artists like Alvin Ailey you come across consciously and subconsciously add to your work. And your work would be lesser without knowing these type of people. So what I take from Alvin is the rigor in his work. And also Black artists from his era, when some stuff goes down and you're like, this is tough. When I feel wary from maybe not being seen, scrutiny, or dealing with systemic issues, seeing what they dealt with. And it's not a pain competition being like, well, it was worse for them, but they had to go through that stuff for me to have this store. Damn sure artists like myself and designers like myself and creatives like myself would have a much harder go if people like Alvin Ailey didn't exist and went over the hill before we did. So that's the main thing I think too, is besides just the art, inspired by the ability to withstand obstacles, realizing the obstacles that are set forth by this country and the hard history of America, but prevailing, realizing what you're up against, and then moving forward, and doing what you must, because the generation coming after you, their existence is based on whether you're able to sustain through the hardships. So whether it's Alvin Ailey or my grandmother sitting on a porch while the Ku Klux Klan is coming through Harlem, Georgia, or live in New York when the AIDS epidemic was tearing through and killing all your friends, and the neglect of the queer community by the American government, And this is what he went through and his peers went through. So those are the things that I get strength from. All those things he went through and his peers went through, and that they still go through. Because the dance and the stories, that's like a given. If you have a brain, you're like, this guy's amazing and his dance troupe is amazing. But when you go under the surface that they were able to, all the obstacles of being gay and Black and living in America at this time and still create this beautiful art with no money, that doesn't mean that I can't complain about anything. But I'd be remiss to think about when I'm going through my hardships and trying to make my art and make my clothing and tell my stories to draw strength from what, forefathers and mothers went through.